I guess first, actually, we'll go with Mike Willis, USA Wrestling.
Hey, Hayden. Short turnaround this year between NCAAs and Olympic team trials. Is Olympic team trials something on your radar, or is NCAAs the sole focus?
NCAAs is a sole focus, but I still have to qualify for the trials. So, I mean, that's in the back of my head for sure. It'd be a really great way to finish off the season by winning it all and then qualifying for Olympic trials. So that's that plan's definitely in the works. And I'd really like to be able to participate in that event. So although NCAAs is the sole focus, I'm thinking of it as, I win NCAAs, I'll be on a pretty good heater and would be able to go on to Olympic trials then.
Andy Elder, go ahead.
Hayden, could you just talk about the dynamic of having Trent in the room and on campus with you, and what kind of advantages you feel that gives you?
Well, I think we know each other so well at this point that, not only can we be teammates together, but, we are obviously brothers and we can have that relationship side by side. But there's just a big connection where, if we're in the room together, we're probably not wrestling each other with the size difference now, but we still know what motivates each other, know what calms each other down. And so whenever you get to big events like the NCAA tournament, it's really good to have somebody like that in your corner because, they serve as, they wear many different hats. Trent's a personal coach to me. He's my best friend, my brother, you count it. And so, it's really nice to have somebody like that in your corner because no matter what's going on, there's a good chance that he knows what's going on with me. And so I think having that relationship is really important.
Travis, go ahead, and then Ryan, you can go after Travis.
Hayden, I'm just curious, as a guy who's wrestled a lot and a lot of matches in the past, and this year having what I think 9, how did you keep your edge up? How did you keep your intensity, not having, the head-to-head competition you normally would?
Yeah, I think it wasn't too bad actually because of the way that the season was condensed, and I think I wrestled more matches than probably anybody else in the country in terms of like freestyle stuff before the season. I think I got close to 10 matches in the fall / leading up into the season, and so although those don't count on my record, I still use them, and it was technically part of the season. I think I wrestled like 6 or 7 matches in Iowa City. I wrestled a couple times at the RTC Cup. We wrestled Nittany Lion Wrestling Club in their event in December. And so although I wasn't wrestling folk style in those, it was still, it kind of gave me a basic progression of what the season's usually like. And then once we hit January, it was a pretty consistent schedule where, once every weekend we'd be wrestling. And so I think we did a good job of getting like a feel of what an NCAA tournament would be like. I got that back in October. And then, we just kind of trained in preparing for this tournament. And although there wasn't like a big tournament like a Las Vegas or a Southern Scuffle, we still kind of had those, moments in our training where we were trying to simulate what the NCAA tournament would be like. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a different season and everybody's got, less matches. I'm coming in with 9 matches. I was still wrestling every weekend though. And the training wasn't a whole lot different than it would be in years prior.
Thanks.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Oh, hey, Hayden. Wanted to ask you about the double down theme that you kind of gave this season for the team. How has that gone? Has it gone to expectations, and how have your teammates reacted to that?
Yeah, so last year, whenever the NCAA tournament got canceled, a lot of us were searching for any kind of motivation or just like, why, what do we do now? And, I challenged the rest of the team with thinking of this year as a way that we can double down on the efforts that we put in last year. And so, that means, we had a great year last year. We did everything, almost to perfection. We were perfect in the dual meet season. We won ACCs, won the regular season ACC championship and just didn't get a chance to cap it off. And this year, just thinking of it as, how can we double down on what we did last year? And we have pretty much the same team. One or two guys are changed in the lineup, but I think we did a great job of using last year as kind of fuel to move us forward this year. And now that we're here at the NCAA tournament, it feels like it's been so long since I feel like the person that wrestled at nationals 2 years ago, I'm almost completely different now. And so I think the double down theme worked, and now it's about cashing in. We've got this big opportunity in front of us. We've got 9 guys going to the national tournament. And, if we all put up some points, we can do a lot of damage and, bring home a team trophy. And so I think that's all that we wanted. And we felt like we could have done it last year. And so now this year, it's like there's a little bit of, that intrinsic motivation where it's kind of worth double.
Thanks.
Andy, go ahead.
Hayden, you're somewhat of a pioneer with the NC State program in that you have the opportunity to be the first 4-time All-American. I know the goal is to concentrate on the next match, get those 5 wins, get the title, but what would it mean to you to be the first 4-time All-American program history?
For sure, it would mean a lot. Just looking at like the alumni base and how often I get to come across them, it's one big fraternity almost that you want to be involved with the greats of this program. And we've taken a really big step in recent years in kind of growing the NC State brand. And I think to be the first 4-time All-American, it's crazy to me to think about with all the talents that have come across this program. But I mean, like Nick Wisdowski was a 4-time All-American. He won it 3 times at NC State, and the other one was at Binghamton. And so technically, I think I consider him a 4-time All-American for the Wolfpack, because he's claimed here and he's reached legendary status. And so to be able to join a group like that would be pretty special to me.
And if I may, I know this is thinking way far ahead, but you have an opportunity to come back and maybe make it 5 next year. Have you thought about what lies ahead after this year and after the trials?
Yeah, that's a big talking point, and I've actually made my decision. I'm not releasing it publicly yet. I just think it'd be best for me to just concentrate on this year, and once the NCAA tournament concludes, I'll be releasing what my plans are for next year. But I mean, I took into a lot of factors, and I think it's just best for me to I've told my family and told my coaches, everybody knows what's going on, but I just feel like it'd be best for the focus of our team and myself where, I'll wait until after the tournament's over, just because I think there's just so much that goes into this tournament. You don't want any outside storylines to happen. There's enough of that as is. And, just taking it like the one match at a time approach is huge. And so just taking it this tournament, really embracing it and enjoying myself with it. I would rather not have to deal with the outside looming implication about what's coming from next year.
All right, we'll go to Travis next.
And just to follow up on what you said about Gwiz and attaining legendary status, what is the criteria for that? And I guess, what does that mean for your program to achieve that? What is that a combination of, I would imagine, wins, personality, maybe history with the program? How would you describe that further?
Well, I mean, even though there's not technically a 4-time All-American yet, there's been, I'm trying to think, 6 or 7 different national champions. And so I think there's a pretty clear criteria what you need to do to reach the legendary status, and that's win it all. But I think with what I've been able to do so far with just the consistency of my career, I've got a really high winning percentage. I think second to only Gwiz, and I don't really like to do like the whole Mount Rushmore talks, but I think if I can take care of what I need to take care of next weekend, I feel like I'll be in the kind of same conversation as guys like him. And he's obviously had a lot of success on the international scene, getting multiple world medals. But he's the standard, and he's the kind of guy that you want to be mentioned with. And so, I'm not really someone that thinks about their place and what people think about me very much. But being able to be talked about with the likes of Gwiz, that's all I really need. I don't need anything more than that. That's a pretty good accomplishment as is, and so I'm in a good spot right now. I think the older I've gotten, the more I've realized how much the fans have really appreciated me being here. And a couple years ago, I came to NC State not understanding anything of their culture. I didn't know anything about what the school was like. I'd watched the Netflix or the 30 for 30 documentary, Survive in Advance, and that was pretty much the only thing I knew about NC State athletics. And to now, 5 years later, just be so submerged in what NC State is and what it means to be a part of the Wolfpack, I think that's really special. And I wouldn't have changed it for anything.
Ryan, go ahead.
Hayden, what was it like for you when the seeds were revealed and you and Trent were both number 2 seeds? And how much do you think he's looking forward to his first NCAA championships?
Yeah, I don't think we I think we've had some talks about it, just like what we would think, and it's nice to not be taken back by something. I think there was 2 years ago, whenever seed released, I was a little bit surprised where I was. I think I got the 5th seed, and there was I could have been anywhere from 3 to 5, and so it's nice to kind of go in where you feel like where you are, and that was the kind of thing with me this year. Not like I really pay attention to it too often. I usually just like to see who I have first round, and then we'll move on from there. But I knew Trent was kind of in the same stage where he could be in the 2 to 4 range. And, when we both got 2, it felt kind of nice because, we do everything together anyway. So we might as well come in at the same point of the bracket. But I mean, the thing is, the coaches are really good about keeping our heads level about what that means. And, the biggest theme is, I've been to 2 of these tournaments, and I've had the most matches out of anybody on my team at the national tournament at this point, maybe outside of Tariq. But the biggest thing is you do have to take one match at a time. Everybody says that's a cliche, but I mean, if it's talked about that often, it probably works. And so the big thing for Trent and I is just focus on the first round, focus on that first day. And, that's all you can really do at this point. Everybody's good. There's going to be matchups that happen that surprise you, or the brackets shake out in ways that, they're not supposed to on paper. So you got to be ready to get thrown in the kitchen sink at this point.
Andy?
Hayden, you've had a lot of success at the NCAA tournament, and you've had some heartbreaking losses. What have those experiences taught you that you can use next weekend?
For sure. I think out of everybody in the field, I've been the farthest, in this bracket. And I've also taken the most brutal losses that you can possibly think of. And so, it's just time to kind of reverse that trend. That's the big thing for me is, I'm proven, and I've been, I've gone the distance in this bracket. I know what it's like to reach Saturday night, and I know what it's like to reach Saturday. And I think looking back at my journey, it's, I've taken on one of the greats that NCAA wrestling has ever seen. And, I've gone the distance with him, and I don't know if there's a lot of other people out there that can say the same. And even though, those losses to Nolf ended up, with an L, I still feel like, I have that, I have that experience of taking on somebody great. And, now that I've gotten older and more mature, I know what it takes to win at every single stage except for the finals. And I think you just take that, even though they were pretty heartbreaking in the moment, you take that as experience, and you just realize that nobody else has really seen that yet. So, I mean, the only way you can look back on it is, I've been here before. I know what it feels like to lose, and I know what it feels like to win, and certainly a lot better to get your hand raised for sure.
If I could just follow up, have you and Trent allowed yourselves to think about what it would be like if you both stood at the top of the podium on Saturday night, and what the scene would be like once you got back to Lewistown?
Yeah, I mean, that's a long distance away. There's 5 or 10 wins between us that need to happen for that, but that's always been the goal. I won't lie to be able to win it with Trent would be accomplishment much bigger than myself. And I think it was the Brands brothers who did it last. And no, it's a very hard thing to do. There's been some really great sets of brothers in the sport, but to do it in the same year it would be something really special. And I can only imagine how Lewistown would react to that. But we're taking things one step at a time for now. I think that's been the theme of my message so far. But the thing is, we'll be with each other every step of the way. Can I see it happening? Absolutely. And that's a little bit of an extra incentive is to do it side by side with somebody.
All right, we'll let Ryan Tice get the last question in for Hayden here, and then we'll transition to coach. Go ahead, Ryan.
Hayden, you mentioned the culture of NC State, but I wanted to ask you about the wrestling fan base at NC State. How much have you seen it grow during your 5 years at the school?
Yeah, I think there was a tweet by Pat that went viral a few months ago, and it was the first dual meet that they had whenever he showed up to NC State, and you could probably, count them individually in the stands. It was probably around 50 or 60 people. And then, last year, whenever we wrestled UNC in a top 10 match, we nearly filled out the place. And so, you look at that progression, that journey, and you think there's so many things going against you to do that. One, in the South, there's great wrestling in the South in certain areas, but there's not that like level of wrestling culture that you'll see in a place like Pennsylvania. Like growing up in high school, it wouldn't be a surprise for us to walk out into our high school gym and be more than 1,000 to 2,000 people in there. And so, you grow up with that kind of sense of wrestling culture in Pennsylvania. And, being that I am, 2 hours from Lehigh, a half an hour from Penn State, you're used to growing up with these huge wrestling crowds. And then to finally see it kind of come to fruition at NC State, it's like, wow, this is something really special here, just because, we had to, grow a fan base just from the basis of we're a really good athletics team. A lot of the fans at NC State, they don't start out as wrestling fans. They start out as NC State fans, and they appreciate the hard work and the success that we found. And so they want to root for a winner. And, whenever they show up to Reynolds Coliseum for a dual meet, it's very hard for them to want to leave. We put on a really great product and are able to showcase our athletes really well. So that journey is everything, because I was able to see it firsthand. I came in whenever NC State was on the rise and really kind of breaking through. And even from there until where I am now, it's like we're a mainstay now. We're not afraid to say that, why not be a wrestling school? We might not be in an area where, wrestling's huge, but we can certainly fill out a crowd. And, that's a movement that you can, really be proud of for the rest of your life. No matter what happens with individual accomplishments or anything like that, I was able to help grow something, and I can really lean on that.
Hayden, great way to end it there. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, and we look forward to seeing you in St. Louis.
Yep. Thanks, guys. See ya in a week or so.
And now it'll turn over to his head coach Pat Popolizio. And Coach, first, I guess, if anything you wanted to follow up from Hayden, and then we'll open it up to questions.
Yeah, as you can see, he's one that is ahead of his years right now. I think you can see the maturity and the reason why the leadership is where it's at NC State. And a guy like Hayden has been a huge impact over the years for us. I think one, to get our culture where it's at, and then to set the standard of what it is to be a true student athlete. and we're thankful to have him as his leadership, and his successes he's had on the mat so far speak for themselves. And I know he's excited to have the opportunity to compete here next week.
Thank you, Coach. We'll start Mike Willis, then Andy, you can go after Mike.
Coach, I think 5 of the 6 teams in the ACC ended the season in the coaches' rankings. What's it like to compete in such a tough conference, and one where every conference duel is going to be against a quality opponent?
Yeah, I think first of all, the ACC is one of the best conferences in the country, and that's due to the coaches we have involved here right now. The conference is definitely elevated when you look at the rankings and the level of every individual and the teams. I think it's helped us a lot. Each team has had to elevate their game, and you see it. When we get to the conference tournament, the competition's tough. It's elite, and you got to be ready, and you got to be on your A game. And I think that's something maybe in the years past we've been missing to prepare us for the national tournament. And we finally have it. When you get in our conference tournament, I know it's small, but every match matters, and they're tough, gritty matches that you got to win. And I think that's something we saw this past conference tournament. There was a lot on the line for one, individual seeding, and then getting guys scoring points for you to win the thing. There's a little added stress when you're in the team race, and I think that's a good thing. I think that's really helping all the schools in the ACC.
Go ahead, Andy.
Coach, from what we've seen, what we've heard from Hayden Hidlay, he seems like he's the ideal role model for a program. Great on the mat, great in the classroom, great personality and interacting with fans and other people. Is it any coincidence that he has been kind of on the leading edge of the program's resurgence, and he's a great role model for both members of the team and people that you want to bring into the program?
Yeah, I think that goes back to, guys like Wisdowski and Machiavello, Tommy Gant. They got momentum going for us, guys that believed in what we were about early in the stages. And then I think timing was critical for Hayden to come here and carry that torch. And again, his maturity and his leadership has been first class for us. And our culture is something we focus a lot on. And, when you find an athlete that mirrors that, and is a 4.0 student athlete, working to be perfect in every aspect of his life, I think it shows when he's out there competing. But, without that leadership, yeah, I think things could be different here. And people have bought in around Raleigh and love what our guys are about. It's hard not to like a guy and root for a guy like Hayden.
And if I could just follow up, with his brother Trent now on the team, both great wrestlers, but different individuals. Could you just tell how they compare and contrast and add to the overall culture of the program?
Yeah, I think when you get a chance to talk to both of them, you can tell they're very motivated, very focused athletes. And I think, Hayden is a little different in his ways. I think he's obviously the maturity level where he's at. It's you can have a really in-depth conversation. Trent is one you can probably joke around a little more, closer to competition, and he likes to celebrate, be a little more flashy. He likes that limelight, and I think Hayden likes winning, but he might not be as flashy. But at the end of the day, those guys represent our program in the right way and do things right. But we noticed the difference. There was a couple matches this year where Trent was out, and it was just a different feeling when we were traveling. And then, when he had his appendix removed, we had a couple first matches and he wasn't able to go with us and staying back. And there was just that we were missing a little bit of that mentality, that, toughness that you want behind the scenes and in that relaxed setting. So they both bring this set of confidence. One's a little different than the other, but it is a good recipe for us right now.
Mike?
So a couple years ago, the program kind of took the next step, got on the podium at the NCAAs. What's it going to take to take it one further and, get on the top of the podium and knock off, maybe some of the front runners like Iowa this season?
Yeah, no doubt. You got your work cut out for you when you got programs like Iowa and Penn State where they're at. They've got history and tradition. We know that. You got to step up. You got to really elevate your game. You got to have a guy come through like Tariq did a couple years back that was unseeded and got hot and won a lot of matches by bonus points. So all our guys. One, got to wrestle to their seeds, which is not an easy task to do. It doesn't matter what team or what athlete you are. And then you need a guy or two to really step up their game and score points that you didn't expect. And we all know anything can happen in the national tournament. It's a wild, crazy tournament. No one has an advantage over anyone with last year not having it. So every athlete's been out of the game as far as the national tournament for the last 2 years. So it's going to be a fun, interesting competition.